red moon hung on a broken steeple. Wind came crawling through the town. My horse knew better than to follow, but I pulled his reins around. There's a grave out past the dry wash with no name upon the stone. I put one bullet in my pocket and one secret in my bones. The saloon door swung like warnings, though the bar had long gone cold. On the wall my wanted poster looked a younger kind of old. Oh, the bell won't ring for me, not in the morning, not at 3. When the dust comes down on this God-left town, let the vultures take my plea. I rode too far from mercy, now mercy rides from me. Oh, the bell won't ring for me. I loved a girl with hands like water, eyes like lanterns in the rain. But I traded one soft promise for a pistol and a name. Her letter still inside my coat, creased where I folded shame. She wrote, come home before the sunset. I came back beneath the flame. Oh, the bell won't ring for me, not in the morning, not at 3. When the dust comes down on this God-left town, let the vultures take my plea. I rode too far from mercy, now mercy rides from me. Oh, the bell won't ring for me. By the cracked bell tower I heard her sing, soft as ash across the plain. My black horse bowed like he'd seen an angel or a ghost that knew my name. I laid my pistol by the marker, put my hat down in the sand. Then the wind picked up behind me like a judgment raising hands. Oh, the bell won't ring for me, not in the morning, not at 3. If they find my coat by the desert road, leave that letter where it sleeps. I rode too far from mercy, now mercy rides from me. Oh, the bell won't ring, the bell won't ring for me. At dawn they found my saddle and hoof prints heading east. But the horse came back without me, and the bell still held its peace. By Widow Flats the windmill turns against the desert air. No hand has fixed its broken wheel, but something keeps it there. I was deputy under Harlan, kept the the jail keys on a chain, locked 3 strangers in the cell house when the dust storm swallowed rain. They begged me through the iron, said the sheriff set the fire, but I took his badge and money and called every dead man liar. Round, round, backward, turn that iron slow. The wind knows where the bones are, where the guilty rivers go. If you hear that wheel at midnight crying like a rusted crown, there's a deputy in Widow Flats the wind keeps wearing down. One had boots with copper buckles, one kept letters in his vest, one just hummed a hymn for mama with a tin star on his chest. By morning all the jail was ashes and the sheriff rode away. I stood there with his bloody payroll while the town knelt down to pray. Round, round, backward, turn that iron slow. The wind knows where the bones are, where the guilty rivers go. If you hear that wheel at midnight crying like a rusted crown, there's a deputy in Widow Flats the wind keeps wearing down. Last night my key ring started turning on the nail above my bed. Every key was hot as branding, every tooth was painted red. Then the windmill groaned my title through a mouth of dust and wire, and 3 men walked beneath it with their shadows full of fire. Turn that iron slow. No badge can bless a coward when the buried testimonies grow. If they find my keys at sunrise, where the ashes meet the ground, tell them I went answering where the wind keeps turning round. Out by Widow Flats the windmill turns against the desert air, and every time it faces east, 3 dead men whisper there. Dead Man's Saloon had no whiskey, no piano, no card game, just a mirror cracked like lightning and a guest book full of names. I rode in from the North Ridge with a dust storm at my back. My canteen held a swallow, my coat held something black. Behind the bar, the bottles were lined like watching eyes, and every time I moved my hand, the mirror moved it twice. Don't look in the mirror, don't ask it what you've done. It don't show the face you're wearing, it shows the one you run from. When the lamps burn low and the dry winds moan, you'll see who pulled too soon. Don't look in the mirror at Dead Man's Saloon. shot my older brother. Overland our father left, said he reached down for his pistol, but I knew he reached for breath. I buried him by the windmill with his hat across his eyes. Told the preacher he died gambling, told my mother cleaner lies. Don't look in the mirror, don't ask it what you've done. It don't show the face you're wearing, it shows the one you run from. When the lamps burn low and the dry winds moan, you'll see who pulled too soon. Don't look in the mirror at Dead Man's Saloon. Fogged at midnight, though the room was desert dry, and my brother stood behind me with the same dust in his eyes. He didn't raise a finger, he didn't curse my name, he only held our father's pocket watch, still ticking through the flame. Don't look in the mirror, don't ask it what you've done. It don't show the face you're wearing, it shows the grave you dug from. When the lamps burn out and the floorboards groan, there's no horse, no road, no moon, just one more name in the guest book at Dead Man's Saloon. By dawn my horse was waiting, with no rider on the rein, and the mirror had one more fracture running clean through my name. Salt River ain't held water since the winter '82, but a boat still scrapes the sand there when the moon burns pale and blue. I was marshaled down in Dry Mercy with a badge as cold as tin. I sold safe passage through the canyon to the men I should have pinned. I took coins from trembling fingers, watched their wagons cross the white. Then I told the raiders where to find them before they made the ridge by night. Pay the ferryman, pay him slow, lay your silver in the sand below. The river's dry, but the dead still roll where the salt wind calls your name. No prayer gets over, no horse gets through. When the boatman turns his eyes on you, pay the ferryman, pay him true, or ride back wearing shame. There's one small boy from Carson with a red scarf at his throat. He asked me if the stars could hear him when his mother missed the road. I still see that scarf at sundown, caught on every cactus spine, and every coin I ever pocketed turns to salt inside my wine. Pay the ferryman, pay him slow. Lay your silver in the sand below. The river's dry, but the dead still roll where the salt wind calls your name. No prayer gets over, no horse gets through. When the boatman turns his eyes on you, pay the ferryman, pay him true, or ride back wearing shame. Last night my badge cracked open like an egg beneath my hand. Inside was that red scarf folded with a child's name written in sand. And I heard oars in the darkness, though no water kissed the shore. And the ferryman raised one finger like it counted me before. Pay the ferryman, pay him slow. Lay your silver in the sand below. The river's dry, but the dead still roll, and tonight they roll for me. No badge can bargain, no lie can stand. When the boatman reaches from the sand, pay the ferryman, pay him true, then sink where no one sees. At dawn they found my holster and my badge gone dull with brine. Salt river ain't held water, but the sand was wet in the line. Mercy Gulch had one small barber shop with a chair that faced the wall, and a straight razor in the drawer there that would open when night would fall. I shaved sheriffs, thieves, and preachers, kept their secrets in the sink, heard more sins beneath a towel than most men dare to think. Then a rider came from Canaan with a scar beneath his chin. The banker said, now name him guilty, and pushed $10 in. Close that razor, Mercy Gulch, close that silver blade. Some lies don't die at sundown, some debts don't ride away. If the chair turns by itself and the mirror starts to dull, there's a man still waiting for judgment at the razor of Mercy Gulch. The boy they hanged was younger than the dust upon my floor. He said, sir, you shaved the real man yesterday at 4:30. I looked down at my apron, looked away from his mother's cry, and the banker kept his clean chin while an innocent man swung high. Close that razor, Mercy Gulch, close that silver blade. Some lies don't die at sundown, some debts don't ride away. If the chair turns by itself and the mirror starts to dull, there's a man still waiting for judgment at the razor of Mercy Gulch. Last night the white towel lifted, though no hand was in the room. blue. In the glass that boy stood waiting, with soap still on his face, said, "Mister, give me one clean shave before I leave this place." Clothes that raise a mercy gulch, but my hand won't let it be. The blade knows every silence that I sold for currency. If they find my shop at morning with a mirror cracked and full, tell the truth was finally sharpened by the razor of Mercy Gulch. Mercy Gulch has one small barber shop, but no barber keeps the key, and a chair turns toward the doorway for every liar it can see. Cinder Hotel stands roofless, where the stage road bends away, but a piano plays at sundown, though its keys are burned to gray. I own the place in harvest season, kept the ledger, kept the wine. When debts came riding through my doorway, I made fire look like time. There were 7 rooms above me, 7 souls asleep upstairs. I struck one match behind the kitchen and left smoke to say my prayers. Play low, old piano, play soft beneath the flame. Every note is a footstep coming back to call my name. If you hear that blackwood singing where the desert coyotes cry, don't ask who lit the evening, ask who watched the people die. A bride was bound for Tucson, with orange blossoms in her hair. A drummer had a silver watch, a preacher had a chair. A little girl left one red mitten on the landing by the door. I stepped across it running and heard her coughing through the floor. Play low, old piano, play soft beneath the flame. Every note is a footstep coming back to call my name. If you hear that blackwood singing where the desert coyotes cry, don't ask who lit the evening, ask who watched the people die. Last night I rode past Cinder with my beard gone winter white. The piano played my wedding song in the ashes of the night. Then 7 doors stood open where no walls had stood for years, and that red mitten on the stairway waved me closer through the tears. Play low, old piano, play soft and never tire. I sold 7 sleeping strangers for a pocket full of fire. If they find my horse at sunrise with no rider, rain or cry, tell them Cinder kept the music for the men who watched them die. Cinder Hotel stands roofless where the stage road bends away. Now the piano plays at sunrise, and one more key is gray. Old Jonah Black sold maps in town beside the funeral ground, but the compass on his table never northward could be found. I was a scout for wagon folk with flower quilts and prayer. I led mothers through the alkali with dust stuck in their hair. A rancher paid me in double eagles to turn them from his spring. I said there's water past the canyon, and I never said a thing. Oh, the compass pointed down, down where the lost ones lay, past the thorn and the buzzard bone, past the sunburned clay. I kept my eyes on the silver, I let mercy leave the ground. Now every road I try to ride turns where the compass pointed down. Was a girl named Annie with a blue cup in her hand. She asked me if the desert ever learned to understand. I told her, child, keep walking, there's a river just ahead. By nightfall all their wagon wheels were circles round the dead. Oh, the compass pointed down, down where the lost ones lay, past the thorn and the buzzard bone, past the sunburned clay. I kept my eyes on silver, I let mercy leave the ground. Now every road I try to ride turns where the compass pointed down. Last dusk I heard a tin cup tapping from inside my saddlebag. Found Annie's little blue one wrapped in my old trail flag. Then the needle started spinning and it stopped beneath my chest, and the desert whispered softly, you know where they came to rest. Oh, the compass pointed down, down where my judgment sleeps. There's no gold can buy a pardon from the graves a coward keeps. If they find my horse at sunrise, let him loose without a sound. I'm going back to answer where the compass pointed down. Old Jonah closed his map box when the moon fell on the town, and one more needle trembled settle downward. Cowboy Chapel lost its steeple in a storm nobody saw, but it rusted where the vein kept turning like it answered high or low. I was sheriff down in Ashland, wore my star above my life. Folks would tip their hats on Sunday, never meeting both my eyes. A drifter came with papers proving what the mayor stole. I locked him in the smokehouse and let winter take its toll. Turn, turn, weather vane, point where the guilty run. North to the graveyard, west to the setting sun. If the iron rooster screams when the desert wind goes still, Cowboy Chapel knows your name and it's pointing to the hill. He had one cracked pair of spectacles and a coat too thin for snow. Said, "Sheriff, read this letter. There's a widow needs to know." I fed the stove with his confession, watched the ashes climb and twist. By morning all the town was warmer and my badge felt cold as grist. Turn, turn, weather vane, point where the guilty run. North to the graveyard, west to the setting sun. If the iron rooster screams when the desert wind goes still, Cowboy Chapel knows your name and it's pointing to the hill. Last night above the chapel ruins, that vein spun against the sky. No wind moved through the sagebrush, no coyote dared reply. Then the rooster bent its iron head and crowed like Judgment Day, and the drifter stood behind me with snow that would not melt away. Turn, turn, weather vane, now point your beak at me. A badge can shine in daylight and still rust underneath. If they find my star at sunrise on the chapel windowsill, tell Ashland I was summoned where the vein points to the hill. Cowboy Chapel lost its steeple, but the town still checks the sky, for that rooster turns its sundown when another liar dies. In gallows bend the women whisper when the sunset stains the thread. There's a needle in the window sewing coats upon the dead. Clara kept a thimble made of tarnished wedding gold. She stitched black suits for hanging men and never once looked old. The sheriff brought her linen and a sack of silver coins, said, "Make it clean by morning, ma'am. We hang the thief at dawn." So, Clara, so pull that black thread slow. Some sins wear boots in daylight, some sins sleep below. When the needle starts to tremble and the desert wind turns cold, there's one more soul in Gallows Bend the gallows cannot hold. The boy they called a robber had a prayer tied to his sleeve. He said, "I never took that money, but no one here believes." Clara heard his mother crying by the jailhouse iron door. Then she found the sheriff's button on the dead boy's prison floor. So, Clara, so pull that black thread slow. Some sins wear boots in daylight, some sins sleep below. When the needle starts to tremble and the desert wind turns cold, there's one more soul in Gallows Bend the gallows cannot hold. That night she stitched a coat so dark it swallowed up the flame. On the collar with red cotton she sewed the sheriff's name. By sunrise there was no rope creaking, no prisoner in the square, just the sheriff in that black coat swinging gently in the air. So, Clara, so pull that black thread slow. The truth don't need a pistol when the guilty reap what grows. If you pass through Gallows Bend, friend, keep your collar from the cold. There's a seamstress at the window and she knows what men have sold. They buried Claire nameless where the thorn and sagebrush lean, but every hanging suit since then has one red stitch unseen. Bitter dusk had one old doctor with a lantern on his wall. Folks said he cured the living, but the dead still made house calls. I rode in wearing black wool with my medicine bag in hand, sold little bottles full of river mud as fever tonic through the land. A miner's wife brought silver spoons, said, "Save my boy tonight." I touched his brow, took her last coin, and left before first light. "Doctor, doctor, close your bag. Don't you hear that coughing wind? Every bottle on your shelf has a child's breath trapped within. If the lantern burns green at midnight and the floorboards start to crawl, better die dusk is calling for the doctor after all. The boy had eyes like winter, small hands curled in a sheet. His mother laid a wooden horse beside his restless feet. I told her, ma'am, by morning he'll be standing at your door. By morning she was digging where the church grass grows no more. Doctor, doctor, close your bag. Don't you hear that coughing wind? Every bottle on your shelf has a child's breath trapped within. If the lantern burns green at midnight and the floorboards start to crawl, bitter dusk is calling for the doctor after all. Last night my bag flew open, though the latch was tied with wire. Inside that little wooden horse stood burning without fire. Then I heard small feet on gravel, heard a mother softly weep, and every cure I ever sold turned bitter in my sleep. Doctor, doctor, close your bag, but your hands are shaking thin. No grave forgets a promise made for silver and for sin. If they find my coat at sunrise near the child's toy by the wall, tell bitter dusk I'm answering as the doctor after all. Bitter dusk has no doctor, just a lantern burning green, and a wooden horse keeps rocking where no child